Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 56, which is going to happen on MTV2 on October 29th. The welterweight title is going to be defended, and you're going to have the heavyweight tournament semifinals as well. So, yeah, let's get started from the top to the bottom. As Ben Askren is going to defend his Bellator welterweight title against Hieron. Hieron, the problem with Hieron is I don't really think he beat Weidman. I don't think he beat Rick Hahn either. Solid fighter. This is a guy that has a good mixture of wrestling and boxing as well. He's fought wrestlers before. He beat like JT Money. He's beaten Jason High, if I'm not mistaken, as well. He has a really solid sprawl. But Ben Askren, man, this guy can take down anyone. His wrestling is that good at this time. This is a guy that he goes for a takedown. Lyman Good does a successful sprawl. It's a correct sprawl. Askren gets underhooks and manages to just keep driving forward from a clinch position with his arms wrapped around his body, and still manages to get the takedown. He's also like glue when he's on top position. His finishing ability isn't quite there, but he's really good at getting the decision. He can definitely wrestle his way to a decision against a lot of these guys. I think against Hieron, it's no exception. I got Ben Askren winning this one using his exceptional wrestling. I think he'll be able to take the fight to the ground and keep Hieron on the ground. Hieron, though, good fighter. At this point, most, if not all of Ben Askren's opponents will be better strikers than him, and this is no exception. Ben Askren has a big weakness in striking that no one has been able to expose yet. Hieron could be the one to do it. I don't really know. I don't think so, though. Okay, next fight after that for the heavyweight tournament semifinals, we got Thiago Santos going to fight Neil Grove. Both of these guys are alternates. Neil Grove lost to Hayes, so and Hayes, had the medical suspension. So Thiago Santos, beat Josh Burns or something like that, I think, to get his spot. And Neil Grove, they just kind of picked him to take over because Ivanov, which really sucks because I really like Ivanov. Couldn't fight either. With Neil Grove, he's a favorite in Bellator. He has fun fights. He likes to blitz people. He's definitely a first round heavyweight. Thiago Santos honestly looks that way too. His last fight, I think he does have the jiu-jitsu skill though. So if he can get the fight to the ground, I think he could beat Grove pretty easily actually. I still remember that Grove was this guy who got heel hooked or knee barred by Mike Bennett or whatever his last name is in the UFC. I'm counting on Thiago Santos not to get blitzed here and hopefully take the fight to the ground and win on the ground. So I'm going with Thiago Santos. It's probably not the more. I would assume that Neil Grove's a more popular decision because he did make it to the semis in the last time. He has beaten jiu-jitsu practitioners as well. And he could very well do the blitz. But the other thing is, quite honestly, I want to see some new blood in this tournament to fight Conrad. I don't think Neil Grove could do anything if he rematched Conrad. Heck, I think he might have a hard time with Ron Sparks possibly, who I am picking to win in the next fight, as Ron Sparks is going to fight Eric Prindle. Prindle had a really fun fight with Abe Wagner. You know, it was a very heavyweight fight though. You know, sloppy brawling. When they went to the ground, they're like almost like tumbling over each other sometimes. At times. They're both pretty old too. Both these guys are in their late 30s. One thing with Sparks is he's shown. Both these guys have shown, you know, a lot of power. That they're not, you know, they're heavyweights. That they show power. That's what they do. You know. I still get this idea that they're the heavyweights that like they're kind of like the old school heavyweights, where it's kind of like they're like first round heavyweights, where it's just like punch each other to see who drops first. Sparks has been doing a better job at doing that as of late. I'm picking Ron Sparks to win this one. He had in his last fight though, he showed this really cool. It was like a double left hooks that dropped his opponent, actually. So, you know, he does have some good striking skills. I still feel he's kind of that old school heavyweight, though. So, I'm going to go with Ron Sparks to win this one. Okay, let's go into the prelim card. A lot of these fights are pick'em fights, really. Like the first one, Daniel Gallimore is going to fight Derek Ruffin. Both these guys are coming off losing streak, have losing records. Gallimore, you know, this is such a pick'em fight for me. I'm going with Ruffin just because he has more fights than Gallimore. I can't really, you know, there's not much I can really say. Next fight after that, we have Rudy Bears versus Marcio Navarro. You got two guys coming off 2-fight losing streaks who kind of split wins and losses a lot of times. Kind of the same fighter, you know. Rudy has a better record here. And I think Rudy has probably Navarro's actually fought some pretty tough competition, but so has Rudy Bears, so they're kind of like the same guy. Somewhat of a pick. I'm going a little more towards Rudy Bears here, though. I'll go with Rudy Bears to win this one. Next round after that, we have Adam Shimla versus the undefeated Jeremy Spoon. Spoon, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, 11-fight win streak, undefeated streak too. You know, really good fighter. But Adam Shimla is pretty good. I mean, despite losing to Ronnie Man, he does have solid. He actually has some really good wrestling. And his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very strong as well. All of his wins that were finishes have been by submission. So it's pretty tough to call because you have two guys that are very strong on the ground. You know, it's really tough to say who's gonna win this one. You know, it's really hard. You know, I'm not confident with this pick, to be perfectly honest, because you do have an undefeated guy who has legitimately really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills versus a guy with very good Jiu-Jitsu skills in his own right as well. But, you know, I'll go with Shimla to win this one. That one's tough for me to pick. Not overly confident in that pick, though. Okay, next fight after that, we have Dan Spahn versus Kelvin Tiller. You know, this is kind of weird matchmaking here. Some of these prelims sometimes get to weird matchmaking with Bellator because you have like an undefeated 6-0 fighter versus a guy with a 1-1 record. You know, Dan Spahn, NAAFS veteran. You know, a good prospect. Won his Bellator debut as well. And he's a prospect to look out for. So, yeah, I'll go Dan Spahn to win that one. Okay. Next fight after that, we have Emmanuel Brooks versus William D'Souza. I don't think it's the same D'Souza that fought the UFC. I forget if his first name's William. It's kind of the same idea here. You got this guy who's 4-0, you know, still young, prospect, versus a guy coming off a 2-fight losing streak who has a losing record. You know, so it's really weird matchmaking here. You know, I gotta go with Emmanuel Brooks to win this one. You know, next fight after that, very much a pick'em fight. Jacob Aiken is gonna fight Jamison Sardino. You know, I'll go with Sardino. He's only like 20 years old. He's the guy with the one win, as opposed to Askren, who has a loss. I'll just go with Sardino. Interesting though that he is only 20 years old. You know, so it's very possible. You know, with someone so young. Askren's actually only 26 himself, so you know it's not like he's old by any stretch of the imagination. He's still, you know, improving as well. But Sardino, you know, 20 years old, you know, he could get really good. You never know. Someone who's starting MMA and fighting in Bellator, so pretty early. Second pro MMA fight, you're already fighting in Bellator. You know, even though it is just the prelims, still, you know, it's pretty big. You know, so yeah, I'll go Sardino to win that one. Next fight after that, we have Aaron Ellie versus Owen Evinger. Pick and fight for me. The thing with Ellie, he's only had one pro MMA bout. He's still young though. He's only 22 years old. You know, and that one fight, it only lasted like a minute and no more than like a minute and a half. The thing with Owen Evinger though, I mean, the guy has had 8 more fights than he has. You know, 7-1 record. Pick and fight for me in a way, just because like I don't know much about these guys, but I'll go with the guy with more fights. So I'll go with Owen Evinger to win this one. Okay, that's it for my Bellator 56 predictions. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you very much.